Welcome boys and girls from YouTube. My name is Sloth and this is the SlothForge. In today's video I'm going to show you the right now strongest Vortex team that is out there. And it is a wild team, and you probably already guessed it. It is a wild team that is using Flora as the main damage dealer, as the carry. And let me tell you, before we start with this video, Flora is insane. And I think that this video actually is interesting for many people out there, even though Flora is an exclusive hero and therefore very hard to get just because of this selected summons rebanner. Now, if you are very early in your season, you are in the first couple of days playing and you are watching this, then I would highly recommend you to save your dice until you reach the day 14, I think, day 14 or 15 on your server, because then the selected summons rebanner is open, and if you have managed to save up to 270 dice, because you get another 30 dice on the way, so you only need 270 dice. If you are somehow able to save 270 dice, you should definitely do so, because even for a free-to-play player, if he is saving those dice for the first 2 weeks, a free-to-play player is definitely able to go for Flora as well. And this is highly recommended, because overall, generally speaking, those premium heroes are insanely hard to get, but they are also insanely strong. And especially Flora is really, really strong. Now, all of these premium heroes are very strong, and some of them have some other areas in the game where they shine. But when it comes to the Vortex, to temporal Vortex, then Flora is definitely the strongest premium hero out there for Season 1. And that's it. That is, I think that actually many people out there went for Flora and got Flora like yesterday, or maybe are going to get Flora in the next couple of days. So this is why I think that this video is going to help many people out there. I really hope that it is going to help people out there. Now, once again, I will split this video in 2 parts. In the first part, we're going to speak a little bit about the team overall, just have a look at which heroes we are going to use and why we are using these exact heroes. And in the second part, we are going to have an in-depth look at their gear, because this is the first disclaimer, and this is very important. If you use these exact 5 heroes and just throw them in your team, give them some gear, make them on full auto and start the challenge, you will definitely reach high numbers. But the numbers that you are going to reach are not even close to the numbers that you can reach with this team if you have the perfect gear, and not the perfect gear, but the right sets on every single hero. And also, if you just know what the hero's roles are, and if you have the perfect skill timing, then the difference is huge. So stay tuned, and I would highly recommend you to watch both parts of this video. But if you already have the 5 heroes, if you know what they are doing, you can skip to the second part. But even then, I would recommend you to watch the whole video, because I'm quite sure that at least 1 or 2 things will be new for you as well. Because actually, when it comes to these Vortex teams, they have way more depth than someone would think. Because every single hero here has a particular role, and every one of these 5 heroes is best in slot. And there is a reason why we are using these exact 5 heroes. Now, before we get started, let's have a look at this team and compare it to another team. Now, in the first couple of days, the strongest team was nearly the same, but instead of Adolphus, it has been using Ogok. And now you would think, why am I not using this team? Why is the strongest team right now using an epic hero? And actually, that's a very good question. Adolphus is insane, but is he as strong as Ogok? So generally speaking, just looking at the kit, Ogok is stronger. Ogok applies attack penalty. Ogok has a very good heal, and also applying immortality buff, which helps your team survive. And since the team contains of only some relatively squishy heroes, you really need some form of a very strong healer or someone who applies immortality. And now Ogok can do both. He can heal, he can apply the immortality buff, and he also can place an attack penalty. So he actually fits perfectly for this role. But now, like the last 7 days or so, Adolphus took Ogok's place because Adolphus is even stronger when it comes to this particular team. And there are many reasons for this. But first, I would like to talk about the star of the show, the star of the team, Flora. And as you can see, the first thing that you will probably notice is that I am also using her exclusive artifact, and you definitely do not need the exclusive artifact to get the highest potential out of this team. But if Flora has access to the exclusive artifact, then she gets even stronger, and it is not just a little bit, not like 10% more damage, it's way more damage. And she scales over time, just like many of the strongest Vortex heroes do. And thanks to her artifact, to her exclusive artifact, her scaling over time gets even stronger. Now, but you do not need this artifact. If you do not have this artifact, you just can use the fan as well. Now, let me show you the fan real quick. This is the Queen's fan. This is the second best item for Flora. And it is also a very strong item. Now, if you are using the Queen's fan, one quick tip is that you should place Flora in the last row. You should not place her here or here, just to maximize her damage a little bit further. And, well, that's it pretty much. This is Flora. She's here to deal insane amount of damage. And her ultimate just benefits from other wild heroes. And this is why we are using these exact 5 heroes, because they have ultimates and, generally speaking, skills that hit multiple times. So they help to push the Vortex of Flora. And the more... Now, let me explain this to you real quick, the ultimate. She is starting a Vortex, which is lasting for 10 seconds. And every single time an ally deals damage or attacks, uses a skill within these 10 seconds, the timer of the Vortex timer goes up. And then after 10 seconds, the Vortex timer explodes. And the more stacks the Vortex has reached, the more damage this skill is going to deal. Now, I know that it is a little bit strange or a little bit annoying that the skill is Vortex, or what her skill is creating a Vortex, and this is a little bit strange, and since the boss is also called Vortex. So yeah, I know that this has some room for maybe a bit better wording, but yeah, it's about the Vortex. And when I'm talking about the Vortex for the next couple of minutes, or for the rest of the video actually, then I'm referring to this Vortex and not the boss at all. Okay, so that's it. So the idea is that she's always using her ultimate first, before anyone else from the damage dealing heroes are using ultimates, just so that these heroes can help Flora push her Vortex as high as possible. And that's it. That's what makes her so strong. It is her ultimate. Now also her passive is also very strong. It is another reason why she stacks with time. She gets stronger with time. This is why she is so good at Vortex, because Vortex, generally speaking, is a very long fight. It can take up to 10 minutes. So once you've reached these 30 stacks, it will increase Flora's damage way more. So this is why, generally speaking, heroes that have abilities that make them stronger over time are most of the times very useful for Vortex, for the Vortex boss. So that's it. This is Flora. She is the star. She is dealing the by far highest amount of the team, the highest damage of the team. Now, but we are using actually a second hero that is also dealing very good amounts of damage. It is Caspar, the maniac whiteface. And he is just dealing damage. He has nothing really special about his team, but he's also a hero that is able to perform better the longer the fight goes, because he's also collecting these buffs, he's collecting those stacks, which help him deal more damage. But apart from that, he's just a hero that is focused on single target damage, and also he is hidden relatively frequently, and he's channeling many hits. So he is perfectly paired with Flora, because he helps Flora pushing her Vortex even further. Now, these are the main damage dealers. When it comes to Felicity and Errich, these are more of a supporting role. Felicity she has one big purpose, and her purpose is her ultimate. It is perfectly for this particular hero, for this particular team, because firstly, it is a multi-hitting ultimate, so she is once again the perfect hero for the witch remains, because every single hit has a chance to inflict a defense penalty, and if you are hitting the boss up to 5 times, or actually up to 8 times, then it is a nearly 100% chance that you will hit at least once this defense penalty, and therefore you have at least 50% of the whole fight you have a defense penalty up. But she also has a built-in defense penalty debuff as well. This is a very small version of the defense penalty, but it can stack up to 8 times. So she has another 16% defense reduce built in her kit. So she just helps Flora and Caspar dealing way more damage. And this is actually all what Felicity is about. Or this is her main purpose in this team. She's applying 2 versions of defense penalty and help Caspar and Flora deal way more damage. Now, the main reason why we are using Errich, firstly, is because once again he has a multi-hitting skill, which is just perfect for Flora, just to help Flora deal more damage with her ultimate, because it feels like 95% of the damage that Flora is dealing actually comes from the Vortex that she is summoning. And the second part, which makes Errich very good for this team, is his passive, because he just upgrades all allies' wild heroes dice by 2, by the value of 2. Now, if you do not know wild at all, let me explain to you this real quick. Every time some wild heroes use some skills, some particular skills, they are going to roll a dice. And the outcome of the rolled dice decides how strong the skill is going to be. So first of all, I think that every single number of the dice increases the damage like 5%. And then most of the skills as well get some additional effects if they roll, for example in this case, a 5 or higher. Now, rolling a 5 or higher on a 6-sided dice gets way easier if your wild dice have just a higher value at all. So now all of a sudden it's not a 1 in 3 chance, but a 1 out of 2 chance to roll a 5 or 6. So this is just a very quick and easy explanation why Errich is perfect and actually very, very strong. And actually sometimes he's a bit underrated. People just do not give him enough credits for his extremely useful passive in every single wild team. And that's it from the legendary faction of this video, or of this team. Errich and Felicity are here for support. Flora and Caspar are here for damage. And now we have Adolphus. Like I said, that there are other heroes that you could use as well. So for example, Ogok is also very, very strong, especially if you have some struggle with surviving, or if you just have not good enough gear to do what I'm going to show you in the second part of this video. Then there's absolutely nothing wrong with going with Ogok, because actually this is why people in the first week, or maybe, yeah, it's about in the first week of the season, people are not using Adolphus, but using Ogok, just because Ogok is not so gear dependent. It just keeps your team alive for 7 to 8 minutes without any extremely strong or rare gear pieces. Now, Adolphus, he helps your team to survive in the ideal case for 10 minutes. but he needs some very good set pieces, some very good gear in general to do so. And now that's actually what Adolphus does. Let's look at it. He is, on the one hand, he is dealing damage, but it is not much damage, and he is not here for damage. All he does is placing big shields, which are dependent on the HP of the hero that he is applying the shields to, and also enlightenment. So in an ideal case, you have an Adolphus who is very tanky and also has a lot of enlightenment, so the shield that he's going to apply becomes very big. So if you have enough enlightenment and also Adolphus is tanky enough, then he can keep your team alive for the whole 10 minutes of the Vortex fight. And thanks to his passive, always when he is applying shields, he also has the possibility to heal your heroes. So he's actually all you need. He is keeping your team alive, he's healing your team, and that's what Adolphus does. Now, this is the team. It's a little in-depth look in the heroes and why we are using these exact heroes. And yes, of course, quick disclaimer, you can use other heroes. If you do not have Felicity, you can, for example, use the Witch Remains on Errich. That he's also absolutely fine because he has also a multi-hitting ultimate, so he is also very good when it comes to the Witch Remains. But if you have access to all these 5 heroes, then you should use these heroes because they are the best. They are, if teamed up, the best Vortex team right now. So this is the team. Now let's go to the second part of the video. Let's talk about the gear. And the first thing that I wanted to mention is that Flora, she is not geared perfectly. So this set is very good for Flora, but it is not the best in Sloth set for Flora. Ideally, you want as many of these one-piece sets as possible because there are some very strong sets. This is an okayish set, but the other sets that I'm referring to are these sets. This is the set that just boosts your damage by an overall 16%, and since the Vortex boss has much more HP than your heroes, this is for the whole fight, just 16% more damage. And then there is also this, the Death Record. This is a perfect gear for Flora, because as you can see, once you deal derivative damage, and she's dealing derivative damage with all of her skills, once you've dealt derivative damage, the Vortex boss gets a debuff, where his derivative damage taken is increased by another 20%. And the Vortex skill, not the Vortex boss, is derivative damage. So yeah, this is just a perfect set for her. But sadly, I only have this one glove, which provides crit rate, which is a bit of a bummer because actually, when it comes to derivative damage, there is one thing that you have to know. You do not need critical rate because your derivative damage cannot critical hit. You absolutely do not need any critical rate or critical damage at all on Flora. All you want is high attack and high enlightenment. And this is why in an ideal world you are using a proficiency or enlightenment chest on Flora. Now once again, this is a bad translation. It's a translation error actually. Enlightenment and proficiency are the exactly same stats. Now let me show you this. If I remove this chest, the enlightenment goes down. Now if I re-equip this chest, it gets up by another 144. So just to show you, proficiency and enlightenment are the same stats. They are just translated differently for some weird reasons. Now, so in the perfect world, you would be using the Death Record armor with proficiency on her chest or with attack percentage on her gloves. But yeah, like I said, I do not have one either. So this is why the second best gear set that you can have for Flora is the Platinum Knight quality set, because it provides some enlightenment and also just helps you dealing a bit more damage. That's it for Flora. You want high attack, high enlightenment, and that's it. And just like I said, let me repeat this real quick. If you do not have the exclusive artifact, then just go with the Queen's Fan. It's absolutely fine as well. It is not as good as the exclusive artifact, but if you do not have access to exclusive artifacts, and let's be real, these exclusive artifacts are relatively hard to get, then you're absolutely fine with this normal mythical artifact. It helps dealing her way more damage. But if you're using it, place her in the last row, just to increase the damage a bit further. Now that's it for Flora. Let's talk about Caspar real quick. He is not that special, to be fair. So as you can see, I'm just using some different one-piece sets. You can just use what set provides the most damage for you. There's nothing in particular that you have to be aware of. You want high crit rate and very high crit damage if somehow possible. This is why I would recommend you to go with crit damage gloves and attack on the chest. Now, I absolutely forgot to mention this set as well. So if you are using Flora, you want on either the chest or the gloves, you want the death record set, and then on the other part, you want, if somehow possible, the strike, the unprepared set. Now, if you could manage to reach this, and then, just like I said, on the upper row, the Fearless Challenge, then this is the best possible build that you can achieve for Flora. But yeah, I do not have the perfect gear right now, and this is the gear which helps me reach the highest numbers right now. This is why I am using the Platinum Knight quality set on her, and just using these items on Caspar, because once again, crit damage does not provide anything for Flora, but it is very useful, extremely useful for Caspar. That's it about. He is not that complicated, and I am using the Flame Tongue. You can also use many different artifacts as well. The other wild or fire artifact is also very good, and I do not have it, so I cannot 100% confirm which set is the better one, or which artifact is the better one, but I saw many people using the Flame Tongue. I also saw many people using the other one, but you do not have to use either. Just use any set that provides some attack, some crit, some whatever. You could also use the Kui Crown in the worst case, or maybe the Eyeball of the Giant, because his ultimate is providing a lot of damage as well. But that's it for these two damage dealers. Now it gets interesting. When it comes to Felicity, Errich and Adolphus, all of these three heroes have some very special gear sets, which is very important. First, Felicity. On Felicity, we are using the Brotherhood Spirit set. And this is because in this particular team, we just try to spam her ultimate as much, as often as possible. Because, I did not mention this, every single time she is hitting with a critical hit, she gains 3% ultimate energy. So this helps her spamming her ultimate like crazy. And this makes her the perfect user for the Brotherhood Spirit, because she is spamming her ultimate and therefore just helping your teammates, dealing more damage always and always. So she has this buff up for like nearly the whole fight. I would say like 80 to 90% of the fight. This buff is up, and this just helps your Flora and Caspar even further. And that's it pretty much. You want attack on the chest, and in this case I'm using crit rate, just because it is very, very useful to have like capped crit rate or nearly capped crit rate on Felicity, because like you saw, the passive in combination with the Brotherhood Spirit set is just bonkers. Now let's talk about Errich, because he also has a this is very important what I'm going to show you now. And yeah, she's using the Witch Remains, but I already said this. So on Errich, we are using the Puppeteers Inspirtaion. This is also a very interesting set, and it is also a more support focused set. every single time that Errich, in this case, is using or is casting the ultimate skill, all allies of the same element, so in this case everyone, because it is a full fire team, gain 10% ultimate energy. Now in a battle that lasts for 10 minutes, it is very useful because overall it just means that you are using your ultimates 10% more than you would without this set. And I've been using this team for a very long time with another set, with a set that actually provides damage, that helped Errich to reach high attack, some critical rate and crit damage, and I tried to use Errich for a damage dealer. But this is not recommended at all. If you have somehow access, you can somehow manage to have a three-piece set of the Puppeteers Inspirtaion on Errich. You should definitely do so, because it just helps your Flora and Caspar to spam their ultimates even more. It also helps Felicity to keep the two debuffs up for like nearly the whole fight. Then you should definitely do so. The Puppeteers Inspirtaion just helped me skyrocket my damage by another 50 to 100 million damage. Yes, 50 to 100 million more damage, just thanks to the Puppeteers Inspirtaion. Also, what makes this Puppeteers Inspirtaion so good is that it also helps your team surviving actually longer, because it helps also Adolphus to just spam his ultimate even more. And that's it actually. When it comes to Adolphus, there are also two important sets that I want to show you. The first, the probably best in slot set for Adolphus, is the Ancestral Protection. So on first, he gets a little bit less damage. He takes 10% less damage, and also 15% of the damage that your other heroes gets transferred to Adolphus. And as you can see, the other heroes are not that tanky at all. Actually, they are very squishy. Especially Flora, she is 100% focused on attack and enlightenment. No space for defense and HP. And if you have Adolphus geared properly, if he is geared strong enough, then you do not need any form of survivability on your damage dealers and supports, because Adolphus can handle this on his own. But the Ancestral Protection set helps a lot when it comes to this. And the second set, or one-piece set, that is perfect for Adolphus is the Teardrop set, because this is actually yeah, I can remember. This is in theory the second best set. The best set for Adolphus actually is the Sky Code Treaty set, because every single time that he grants a shield, he is dispelling one debuff from the target. Now this can trigger only once every 20 seconds, but once every 20 seconds, the Vortex boss is applying a defense down debuff on your whole team. And now Adolphus can help you to dispel those debuffs and help your team surviving even longer. So actually, I would normally recommend you to use the Sky Code Treaty Helm, but for my particular case, I am using this helmet because always at around the 7 to 8 minute mark, one of my heroes, and most of the times it is actually Adolphus, dies. And after that, for a strange reason, they just regroup, and he then is able to heal everyone back to full, but always at around the 7 to 8 minute mark, he dies. Not always, but it's like an 80 to 90% chance that at this mark he dies, and this is why I, out of convenience, just used the Lunar Radiance, the Teardrop helmet. But in the best case scenario, you would use the Sky Code Treaty helmet on him. And apart from that, you just want high HP, ideally something between 65 to 75,000 and something around 2,500 to 3,000 defense would be perfect, while also you need a good amount of enlightenment, so the shield that he's applying is big enough. And yeah, that's it pretty much. This is the whole team. Now, it already took 30 minutes. I'm very sorry for this, but there is a lot of knowledge when it comes to this team, a lot of know-how that is needed, because as you can see, this team in the first runs, it would just deal like maybe 100 to 150 million damage, and with every small adjustment that you do, you will reach a bit more damage. And if you do everything perfectly, then you can reach even higher numbers than this, way higher numbers than this. And 460,000 damage is a lot, isn't it? So this is why I'm saying that there is very much in-depth, or very much depth at all when it comes to this team. And there is also RNG involved as well. So like I said, sometimes this team just survives for like 7 to 8 minutes, but in this case it survived 10 minutes, and every single hero survived until the end, or at least for 9.5 minutes. In the last 30 seconds, Caspar and Errich died, but overall they nearly survived for the whole fight and helped me reach an insane amount of damage. And now, before we just look at the run real quick, let me show you the skill timings. We want, like I said, Flora to use her ultimate first. Then we want Caspar to use his ultimate right after, because yeah, he just is multi-hitting and pushing the Vortex of Flora way higher. Then after a couple of seconds, we want Errich to join in. And the reason why we want Errich to join in a little bit later is, and I'm not 100% sure why he's always doing this, but he just tends to get a little bit out of sync if he has the same timing or nearly the same timing as Caspar. So this is why I am using Errich on 14.2 seconds. But they are different numbers that work absolutely fine as well. Actually, if you are going to ask like 10 persons about their particular wild team, you will probably get at least 5 different skill timings. So this is not the best skill timing out there, but it is a skill timing that works perfectly fine. And as you can see, we are just using Felicity on default. We want to spam her ultimate, and in a perfect world, it is absolutely possible to have the defense penalty and the defense down debuff up for the whole fight. If she's critten enough, then she's actually able to keep those debuffs up for the whole fight, which is very, very great. And same for Adolphus, we also are using his skills on default, just so he can keep the whole team alive as long as possible. Now, this is one skill timing that you can use. Now, if you are you can only use this skill timing and this recast speed. You can only use this if you are using the Puppeteers Inspirtaion, because of these 10% ultimate energy that Errich provides for the whole team every single time that he is using his ultimate. Now, if you do not have this gear yet, or not good enough gear yet, then there's no problem. There is this team as well. There are these timings here as well. Now, here I am using Ogog, but you can just use Adolphus instead of Ogog and use him on default. But apart from that, these are the skill timings that you should use then. Because if Errich is not helping your team to spam their ultimates with the Puppeteers set, then you want actually Felicity to be in sync with your team, so that the defense down is always up when the Vortex skill from Flora explodes. Because this is absolutely needed. Like I said, like 80 to 90%, or yeah, let me show you the picture, like 70% of your whole damage comes from Flora, and out of this 330 million damage that she dealt in this run, at least 80% of the damage came from her ultimate, and this is why you want always the defense penalty debuff up when the Vortex skill from Flora explodes. And this is why in the second case, I would recommend you to use these skill timings. But if you have access to all the sets, and if you have relatively useful gear from the particular sets, then these are the perfect skill timings for you. Now, I think that's it, actually, pretty much. Once again, 35 minutes. I'm so sorry, guys. But these Vortex teams, like the last Vortex video as well, they just take a little bit of time, especially if you want to explain it in depth and if you want to really explain why we are using every single particular hero. And yeah, this is why it took a little bit longer once again. But once again, I'm leaving some timestamps in the description below, so you just can skip to the parts that are important for you. Now, I have no idea why I just started this battle. Just out of fun, let's make a quick battle, a combat simulation. Once again, have a look. Maybe they will not survive 10 minutes like they do in like 50% of the case. Let's have a look real quick, and then we will end this video. Now, yeah, here you can see it. This time we only survived like a bit more than 9 minutes, because there is absolutely some RNG involved. And yeah, that's it. But still more than 400 million damage. And yeah, you saw it, my personal best right now is 460 million damage with this team, with these exact numbers. And there is definitely way more room for improvement. Just look at Flora and the gear sets, the set pieces that I recommended you. If you have access to them, you should use them, and then your Flora is dealing even more damage. But well, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in the next one. And yes, if you have any further questions, any ideas, any better skill timings, please let me know in the comments below. I'm very interested in them. But for today, that's it, and thanks for tuning in. See you in the next one.